When people like where they live and they feel like they belong to a little community and they have pride in where they live, they are more likely to stay there and continue to rent. We're happy to keep tenants re-signing the lease every year because turnover is expensive. You're losing income one way or another when you have turnover, whether it's a few days, a few weeks, a month, depending on everything that you might need to do while it's vacant. And then you have the cost of turnover. So you have to clean the unit, you have to paint, all these things. Those are direct costs that you don't have to pay when there's a tenant in the unit.
Welcome into the Get Invested podcast, a podcast about all things real estate and real estate investing, brought to you by Capital Velocity Investments and a part of the Matthias Talks Investing Substack.
Hey everybody, welcome into another episode of the Get Invested podcast. I am Jordan Stone.
Matthias Wilson.
As always, we're excited to be here with you guys and talk all things investing, real estate investing, and perhaps some shenanigans. We don't know. We'll see. But it's excited about today's topic. I think it's going to be a good one. Not that I don't think all of ours are going to be good ones. I do. I just, sometimes I feel more inspired than others, I suppose. But before we jump into that, what's anything going on in Destin that is worthy of note?
No, we had a real brief cold snap, but I'm back to where it got down into the 40s and supposedly dipped overnight at some point down into the 30s even, which is crazy, especially for this time of year. But it's back to sunny and beautiful. Low of 60, high of 75. I'm back in shorts, so we are safe. We are safe here in Destin from the snowpocalypse or anything. So it's very brief. I think the entirety of Destin is sick or recovering from being sick, just because the seasonal temperature change, drying out, all that kind of stuff. So a little bit of that going on, but other than that, we're good here. Looking forward to leaving here in a little bit, going home to Kansas City for Thanksgiving, and looking forward to all that. But other than that, we're just buckling down, trying to finish up the year strong and keep everything from unraveling when we're gone.
Hopefully, digital and communicative technologies will help with that.
Yeah, they should.
Well, it's coming up to be a pretty busy few weeks in a row, and weekends in a row. Last weekend we hung out. My buddy does a chili cook-off every year. That was fun. But coming up, that was kind of the big thing this last weekend. But coming up, we're going for a little low-key one-day wine tour thing in Boone, something Rachel really likes to do. So I got a nice deal on some points in Boone, so
there you go.
that are about to expire. So thanks, Marriott.
Had to. You pretty much had to.
Had to. I did look into seeing if there was a way in which to use them for the next weekend. I mean, Rachel, don't worry. Primary thing was us romantic getaway, but if that didn't work out, there was also the possibility that maybe I could just use it while I'm in Kansas City the next weekend if for some reason, we need an overflow, but decided to go this route. So then that's this Saturday, then the next Friday flying up. I guess I'm actually beating you there.
Yep. I'm driving up. So it'll be a two-day drive for us.
And then come back and basically a couple days and then going to see the parents for Thanksgiving, then going to the State Carolina game. So, look at me just having things to do on the weekend for a change. Very, very much not me.
Like you're young again.
Exactly.
Where weekends were a thing.
I'm definitely going to be missing my couch at some point during all of this fun and festivities. But speaking of weather, I mean, it snapped into the 20s here, of course, and it's back into heating up into the mid 60s, and then of course getting all the way down to like the 40s or 30s. So, and people are celebrating the fact that it's like warming back up again. And I'm like, no, this is what the problem. Like sorry for those of you listening, I was doing it like a sine curve. The up and down is the problem. That's what causes all of the illness. Anyways, I was getting my haircut yesterday, and
I did too. Crazy.
Oh wow! And I'm feeling handsome today because of it. I'm not saying I am handsome. I'm just saying I'm feeling handsome. Anyways, the person cutting my hair was like, "Oh, did you get any snow?" And I was like, "What?" Apparently, we had like the briefest of flurries Monday night or whatever. And it's so funny because it's become such a rare thing. I don't think it was really that much of a thing in Charlotte to begin with, but people that don't understand what they're talking about, right? So you're from Kansas City, I'm from the mountains, so we actually have dealt with snow. Like they think like there's people who think like if this starts flurrying, you're like, stay off the roads. It's like, no, snow is not the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Anywho, other than that, this is actually a setup to transition into what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm inventing this new thing called the long segue.
Nice.
The multi-step segue. But no, so as
Podcasting
you know,
pioneer here, folks.
Yep, 100%. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Michelangelo of podcasting. As you know, I recently joined the board, right? Was named, I'm now treasurer because the guy who was doing it was like, you seem like you're interested in this. Please take this from me. And I said, okay, I will do that. Anyways, so we're talking about the parking situation here is bad. And I don't want to be a censorious HOA board member. I really don't. But if you're double parked and you can't see and people are driving down one lane roads, essentially, it's just unnecessary. And they're parking right in front of signs that say no parking, like city signs, not like I went out and wrote on a cardboard piece of paper or a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard.
Legitimate signs. Yeah.
Like yes. And they're parked right in front of it. And it's like, no. So you're not supposed to be on both sides. There's places where you're just not supposed to park because they're trying to stagger it, right?
Sure.
People can just completely ignoring this all over the place. Well, I'm driving home and I decided to go down one street that's particularly bad most of the time. And frankly, I mean, this is again apropos of what we're going to talk about today. A lot of the people on that street are renters. And honestly, they may not know all the rules. They can see the no parking sign, but the rest of them, who knows, right? Who knows how the owners are communicating to them, whatever. But so part of our goal here is to try to like make things more clear, communicate, and then we can just kind of move toward a better scenario. But I take pictures of like cars parked right in front of the no parking, and I'm like, we got a long way to go. It's not exactly like I'm out here writing tickets for the nuances, right? And turns out I texted board members. I'm like, okay, like this is what I'm seeing. Because we had a whole conversation the night before about how we needed to start working on it. Well, I immediately get blowback from two of the board members about how there's just nowhere to park, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I find this strange because that was not the conversation we had previously. Turns out one of them, who was the husband of one of the board members.
Oh, that is classic.
Like, okay, well, I was just following up on what we actually talked about. I'm not trying to put anybody on blast. I didn't know this was your car, but I do notice that your driveway is empty. So that's the thing. Here's what happens. People don't want to have to do like the car musical chairs.
Single garage driveways.
Yeah. So they park on the street. And you know what? Speaking of leading by example, Rachel and I always on the driveway, we just do our maneuvering. And that's what's going to have to happen. Anyways, it is a community issue though, because it is, especially at night, it's very narrow. People are coming down there. You can't see. Anyways, I just thought it was funny that literally one of my first acts was to accidentally put a board member's husband on blast.
That's great.
I was like, oh, fantastic.
Love it. Love it. You've created an enemy for life.
Well, but the funny thing is, I found that out when I was walking around with the president and vice president, looking at the situation, trying to sort through different ways in which how we could maybe be reasonable, but improve it. And then they told me. I was like, oh.
Well, that's the response.
Oops. Yeah. Anywho. All right. Well, as I said, that was a long segue because I thought it'd be funny to tell that story. And we'll probably just have like from now on an HOA moment in the podcast if there's something funny to talk about. But today we are going to talk about creating a good environment in a community okay, let me back up. Creating a good environment at like an apartment complex at our properties. Mm-hmm. That doesn't necessarily mean also creating community. That's part of it. But I just want to be clear that what I mean is in one of our properties, creating a good environment. What does that look like? What does that entail? Etc. So anyways, let's do that now. And Matthias, it seems like we were going over this in pre-production, right? And it seems like you almost have to just start with security and say, of course, that has to be first. And then beyond that, let's talk about more interesting things. But maybe it's not exactly, maybe there's, because security is also staff. I don't know. Like, what do you think? And get us started by answering that question.
Yeah. Well, I think you don't have the luxury of feeling a sense of community with where you live if you're worried about your safety or your family's safety. So I do
Yeah.
agree that like all the other things that we try to do and try to help out with at the at our properties for the tenants, for our residents are behind that. So if they don't feel safe, nothing else really matters. You could have the nicest, you know, friendliest people, but if you're worried you're going to get shot on your way to your car in the morning, then nothing else really matters, and you're going to leave. So I do think security. Well, I mean, it goes hand in hand also too. That so you just have to have a functional, safe home, clean place to live. That you don't need luxuries. You can like to have luxuries, but as long as these basic needs are met, you can start talking about other things, I guess. So, your water has to run, your electricity has to work, um, your front door needs to be able to lock, the roof shouldn't leak, all those kind of things that come with having a secure house, unit, whatever to live in. But yeah, I figured the way that we would attack this, just backing out a little bit, it's kind of talk about what we think goes into and what we make efforts to create a sense of community in our complexes. We'll talk about that, kind of what we do and what we feel residents are looking for, and then we'll kind of at the end we'll kind of go back to brass tacks and numbers and explain how providing everything that we think the tenants want and responding to what they're asking for, and what countless surveys have identified as what is important to residents, how meeting those needs accomplishes all our goals for us and our investors as well, in terms of financial and security, stability of an investment. So we're going to kind of talk about what we do and then why that matters, obviously to meet the needs of the tenants, but also how that actually kind of aligns our incentives to meet their needs better, is better for us in the long run.
Yeah, because that is one of the, I would say, core tenets of tenants, not tenants, of what we do, is that the human and the financial align, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's important to talk about how that works and both sides of it, for sure. All right, so where shall we start?
Yeah, so we hit on security. So I guess at first we'll hit on the kind of the top level needs. So you have to have a safe, secure, functional, and clean space to live in order to start caring about how you feel like you belong or really enjoy your neighbors or whatever. So got to meet those needs first. That's bottom line. We those are the things we fix first when we buy a property. If there's leaky roofs, that's number one. Number one thing we're going to do. If there's a crime problem, which we generally avoid, but sometimes it's just like a single tenant that has acquaintances or does things that that a previous owner just maybe didn't want to deal with. But were that ever to happen, we would immediately work on pulling that potential problem tenant out of the units, because they're a danger to the other units and to the other tenants, more importantly. So fixing all up front, that's the first thing we do whenever we take over a property is make sure that the units are functional, they're clean, and they're if there's mold issues, God forbid, or whatever it is, we'll prioritize that first. But then after, let's just say that we've established that as a base level of what we're providing to our tenants. Then we're gonna, I think one of the things we talk about when we talk about taking over properties is making an impact to the tenants, that letting them know that there is new leadership, new ownership, or management, however it appears to them, that there's a new way of doing things, and that so on a big part of that is the management staff, and maintenance staff, really, people that they're going to see that they that become the face of us as the investors, owners to the tenants, and a lot of that can be, I mean, as an anecdote, we've partnered on some properties, and I'm not going to get into any specific details, but basically they had to fire. Some partners had to fire a property manager because this property manager just didn't seem to like the tenants, and which is a real problem.
I was going to mention that, because that's kind of where I got the idea to talk about this, because it was even. I mean, I was a little bit surprised that I don't know, surly, curmudgeonly property manager had that big of an impact on, because it's a big community,
well, they
first of all,
can.
and so
Yeah, I mean, and it's basically like, this particular instance, there was like, tenants couldn't walk in. They had to make an appointment to visit with any of the management staff, and it's just like, hey, we want it to feel like a community, almost like a family environment, to where, hey, if I have something, just come to me, let me know, communicate, over communicate. We don't need to create a process in order for you to be able to tell me that, hey, I saw a strange car driving around with some, unruly looking people in it or whatever. Like, you should be able to walk in and say, hey, does anybody know anything about what's going on over here? Or, hey, I noticed might be some smoke coming out of this guy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we just want to be able to foster communication and easy communication, because that just helps, one, keep us aware of what's going on in the property, and two, let tenants know that we value them and we value their time and their, the ability of them to talk to us. So that was remedied in that particular situation, and that's just kind of an anecdote to the side. But basically, what we want to foster when we take over a property is we want tenants to realize that, hey, we put a high priority on their opinion of the property, and we'll get into a little bit later about why, all the reasons why we do that. But we love to ask when we take over a property, or even when we're doing inspections before we actually close on a property, hey, what would you fix? What would you like to improve about this property? And we put together a whole list of what tenants complain about, because inevitably, with especially with some of the properties we take over, tenants will complain about something, it won't get fixed. They'll complain about it again, it won't get fixed, and then eventually they'll just stop complaining about whatever it might be, whether it's something in their unit, something on the property, something in the neighborhood, whatever. They'll complain for a while, and then when nothing happens, they just kind of, okay. But then if somebody new comes and asks them, hey, what would you fix? They've got a list. They know, especially ones that have been there a year, 2, 3, 5 years.
Yeah, that to-do list.
They know exactly what they would fix, and they're happy to tell you about it, because in the past they've complained about it to no avail. So we love to get those lists from people. We make it a point for our new management staff to go in and say, hey, what's any issues with anything that you're having? And we like to show priority and quickly fix, hey, this faucet's been leaking for a while. I've told them about it, but nobody ever did anything. Or my water heater only doesn't, run properly, whatever it might be. We love to go in and fix that and make an impact immediately, or as quickly as we can, to the tenants, to show that we actually care about your experience at our property.
Yeah, I mean, it's very important. And if you just think about, back up for a second, our business plan, as value add, one of the things that we want to improve is operational efficiency. If we go into a place and there aren't people with to-do lists, we're going to be like, wait a second.
What are we here to fix? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought exactly. So, I mean, going in, we're expecting that and hoping to show ourselves first good foot forward by fixing all of them. I just wanted to go back and note that I do remember, because you're talking about the property manager who you had to get an appointment, they couldn't find them, or, you couldn't just go talk to them or whatever. It is, I don't know about you, I don't know how much, but I lived in a series of apartment buildings of some various sorts, some which had on site, some that didn't, some that were just houses, whatever. But the ones that, when it was like a big complex of some sort, and there was an office, and there was supposed to be someone there that you could go talk to, it was always a little unsettling if you walked in and there's just nobody
there. Yeah, during the middle of a normal
in the middle of the day, and like the building's open, or or even if it's not, I don't know which. It might have been more unsettling for it to be open and no one there. But yeah, so that's just, even if you don't necessarily need something urgent, just you need to go communicate with a human face about what's going on, and there's just no one there. It's a big deal.
I mean, sometimes it depends on the size of the property. Some smaller properties you can't have, there's no like big office building with a
one we just took over. One of the ones we just took over.
Yeah.
We
there's not an on-site office. Yes, but I get your point. It's the same, and it was always nice to walk in there. You grab your mail from the mailbox, you walk through, say hi to the people. We always loved to do, when I in San Antonio flight school, we would do that when we got off base. No, I have the same same experience going through. It's like, it was always nice to like, hey, there's somebody sitting up front that's there to answer questions if I have, hey, I noticed the pool was closed, or what's going on with there's two broken treadmills in the workout room, or whatever,
or
anything like that. Just having a face that you could go
here. What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody's at the wheel. It's almost that feeling.
Exactly.
Right? Like,
Somebody's steering the ship. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, I agree, and we like to have, and that's why we value having a friendly face, friendly staff that get along really well with people. You like you said, curmudgeonly. Like, you can't have like a Clint Eastwood type "get off my lawn" guy as your friendly face to your company, to tenants, because it's just not gonna.
Right.
You don't want that. Something else that I wanted to mention is we talk about. We'll kind of tie this in with how tenants feel about the property. We try to enhance in some way, usually with landscaping, right, how the property looks, how it feels, and how it looks right when we take over. We try to say, hey, the brush looks overgrown, or there's some really bad paint jobs on this. Well, painting trim or something. There's little things that you can do to make it to show that you care how the property looks, and make it much more appealing, really relatively simply. And that gives the tenants, it has a double. Not only is it more attractive to potential tenants, but it gives your residents that already live there, hey, now I can have a little pride in how my, maybe when I was going to leave some trash out on my patio or something, now maybe, hey, they just painted this and looks all good. I don't want to ruin up my own property, my own home, or not ruin up, but you know what I mean, like messy up. They take a little more pride in the appearance of the property in general. Right. And have, hey, this is where I live and it looks good. I like that it looks good,
Yeah. First of all, I'm going to find a way to use the phrase ruin up later. No, I mean, I think that's, I think that's pretty straightforward, right? Psychologically, sure. Especially if you've been there and then, like, I guess us in this scenario take over, and then all of a sudden there's like improvements, and you're happy about those. Natural response is, let me be a part of this. Let me help improve, right?
Yeah.
Not saying they're going out there like building a gazebo onto the back of their place, but
no, but we've had. I mean, I think Jen has been out at one of our local properties before. She was doing something that, so we had some work done, and the workers left a mess, and she was out cleaning up the mess, and she had tenants come out of their units and help her clean up the mess that they had left, and for the same reason. Hey, we care about how this looks. We appreciate what you're trying to do. We're going to help. It could be the same as like, hey, we noticed this thing that you didn't see. Your crew went through, but they forgot this thing over here. And we'd be like, oh, hey, I didn't notice that either. Thank you for telling me. We'll go back out to fix this. Just communicating how we can help and continue to improve the property is very useful to us, in our opinion.
Right. And I mean, especially if we're taking over a property where there has not been responsiveness. Right. Mm-hmm. That level of not only responsiveness, like doing the things that are asked, but appreciating the conversation and the feedback and the information. Yeah. Right. It's not,
and actually asking for it as well.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. So those are the I don't want to say maybe indirect. Those are the indirect ways that we can engage with the tenants and provide value to them, is by, hey, we're going to do this thing, not necessarily directly with you, but for you, on your behalf, to the property, and we're going to ask for your input on how we're doing it. So there's the maintenance. We talked about efficiency. People complaining for weeks and weeks about a thing that drives them nuts. I mean, if you ever go to property management websites, or Google a property management company or an apartment complex or something like that, and you go through the reviews, what are they always complaining about? They've never fixed anything. It's always maintenance. It's always, it took them forever to fix it, or they never actually fixed whatever thing I had.
They didn't communicate about it, and it took a while, and
So that's somewhere that
we've talked about being. Sorry, I didn't mean to catch up, but being operationally efficient, and one of those is having somebody. If you don't have an on-site handyman, you got to wait until there's a number of things to be fixed and then have them come out. But most people are going to understand that if you just tell them, like, as long as it's not something that's an emergency, like my bathtub is flooding, or something. You just like, hey, we're putting all these together. They're coming out next week. etc.
And that's all solved with communication, like
Yeah.
you said. Is it's like, hey, received, we hear it, it's on the list, and it's going to be addressed next Thursday when we have a plumber coming out to do 4 different things, or something like that. And that's just on the property manager to communicate and have and that way you get buy-in from the tenants. Is like, hey, understood, got it. You're working towards me. I'm not angry until next Thursday when he shows up. I know what's going on.
Right.
You know, sometimes obviously if it's an emergency or if there's a no kidding like a drain overflowing or something like that, yeah, we'll put somebody out there immediately because it's going to cause damage and potentially make the unit uninhabitable. Obviously, we need to address that as soon as possible. But for just normal maintenance items, if you communicate to the tenants, hey, understood, you've got a doorknob in your house that's broken, we will have the handyman come out and address the doorknob. He's coming on Tuesday. With he's got a list of things that he's going to handle while he's there. It's unless if it won't support a guy who's just 24/7 on site. But then even then, he's got a list of things that he's taking care of each day that the maintenance team puts together. So there is all that. It's just I think the key is communication, and that comes with just being friendly with the tenants and having them like you, and having the manager have the tenants believe that the manager likes them, is convinced that they're a friendly person and would like to help them. And I think that solves most of your problems.
Yeah. So that made me, I was wondering about systems for that, but, and I want to come back to that, but I got to say, as much as we talk about whether there's one person who's the on-site property manager, if it's big enough, there's more than one, how, friendly, receptive they need to be. I think that's 1A. And 1B of creating this kind of like atmosphere of just well-being is the maintenance man being good. I don't know how personable he needs to be, but being good. I just remember a place I was staying in Athens. It was part of a big property management company. They had they owned them. They had all kinds of places all over Athens. This one was small, but there was like 2 different maintenance guys that worked for them. One, I think his name was Chuck. We'll call him Chuck. Chuck was great. Chuck was the best. Chuck was awesome. And then the other one, we'll call him Joe, was not. And so like, it was like you put in a request of something to happen, something to help you, them to come out to help you. And it was like, please get Chuck. Please get Chuck. Please get Chuck. And if Joe rolled up, you're like, oh no, because like there's a decent chance he's like not going to fix it, or he's going to say he needs to go get something, or it's just going to be an unpleasant conversation and he's going to take forever, or like, whereas Chuck, it was like great conversation, he's going to fix it immediately, no problem, see you later. So I think that's like got to be 1B.
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with I've made. When you buy properties from generational owners, people who've owned them for a long time, especially older people who've owned them for a long time, they tend to hire handymen that might be very knowledgeable, might be able to fix everything and anything, but they do not necessarily look professional by any stretch of the imagination. And so that is key. Even if I'm all about continuing to employ those people, but you have to bring them under the umbrella of like, hey, there's a certain standard we need to present to the tenants, because if you show up in a holy t-shirt and stained jeans
and your jeans are
with
falling off, and
yeah, exactly, or what have you, I've seen a lot of stuff. They don't feel necessarily comfortable, or that there's a professional in their home. You might be the best repairman anybody's ever seen, and oftentimes they tend to be pretty good. It's just like, hey, there's a standard we have to meet in order to go into people's units. I don't want people to see you walking around the property looking like some of these people have looked like. And then so that's just the professionalism that we try to bring, and that comes with bringing in installing professional managers that they vet the handyman that they send out, and so on. Oftentimes they're in uniform, depending on the company and where it's at and all that. But these are all good things, and add to the kind of that structure of the that we're creating for the residents, is that, hey, there's somebody competent running this place that I could go talk to if I need to, but also whenever I do need stuff done in my unit, there's a professional that shows up, friendly, gets it, knows what they're doing in an efficient way. That helps obviously with both the owner and the tenant, because it gets done quickly and then it gets done less expensively. But at the end of the day, the tenants need to feel that any problem they have can get fixed reliably fixed with the person that they would actually like to have in their unit working on it.
And what I was thinking about systems is that you can do all the kind of pre-planning installation type, like, hey, everybody, here's the portal. This is what you're going to use. Please make your maintenance request through here. Like, it's got to go, like, but there's just going to be people, whether they be older or whether this is not their personality or whatever, they're just going to want to come talk to you and tell you.
Sure.
Right. So you've got to have you have to have all these different ways
to
information.
Yeah.
To add it, you have to put it in the portal. I don't know, but you can't just be, okay, well, go put it in the portal. That in of itself.
Yep.
I know.
Sure.
I mean, even though I don't consider myself old or a Luddite, I mean, I can see a scenario where I go in and say, hey, this is a problem. And they're like, well, okay, but go submit it through the portal and we'll take care of it. It's like, I'm telling you right now to your face. Like, my human face is telling your human face. So I think we could just go ahead and skip that part, or like just do it right now. Yeah. So that was always frustrating when it's like, no. There's a process. It's like, I get it, but
yeah. I mean, I can see both sides, because it's a way to make sure it doesn't fall through the cracks because one person who didn't have access to the system, or I get it, but I agree. There should be a way to marry those two together so that the work still gets done, and I think that's doable. But I guess let's transition a little bit over to kind of some more direct things that we do with the tenants in order to provide kind of a sense of community. Something that we're doing at our properties, our Mississippi properties, for instance, is we're going to do holiday decoration contest. So, we love it when our tenants, really go all out, and, Christmas lights, or, snowmen, those little inflatable thing, whatever they want to do. We like that because everybody, I mean, who doesn't like driving through a neighborhood when everybody's got a cool decoration at whatever, whether it's Halloween or Christmas, for, whatever time of year it might be. I enjoy it. And I've never heard of, I don't think the Grinch lives at any of our properties. But pre the movie Grinch, where he hates Christmas, but because after the movie, he'd love to live at our property with all.
No,
but anyway, we like to do.
The lore is that he lives very isolated so yeah, I don't think he wants to be in any of our communities.
No, he doesn't. Whoville or anywhere else.
Exactly. He's not happy.
No, so we like to do decorating contests, and so we'll let our property managers go around, and we set a day. Okay, this day usually before Christmas, like maybe the week of Christmas, but the first day, Monday of that week or something like that, we'll go around and say, okay, everybody, everybody has enough time to put their decorations up. We go out and we award, three, first, second, and third. And then the first, second, and third will get a concession off their rent or something, a credit towards their rent, just which is very inexpensive, but it also lets everybody into the long run inexpensive as the owner. But it's cool. It gives everybody there's a little bit of competition, but also everybody, the whole property benefits when everybody's trying to spruce up the place and make it look cool and stuff for the holidays. So we get great feedback whenever we do things like that. Our property managers recommend it to us. They've been doing it for years, and really there's very little downside to this kind of thing, where it might be $200 a property or something like that in the long run of lost rent per se, but it's so worth the benefit. And honestly, we've provided dinners and stuff for them as well too, at a similar or higher cost, and it's well worth it to get people to enjoy where they live.
Yeah, so we're gonna. I mean, I think we're definitely going to transition to all the ways in which it's well worth it. I mean, first and foremost, it makes people like where they live, and then that's going to translate to something else. But yeah, I was thinking about a couple of things. One, just there are communities or properties that have like outdoor grills and like big, nice green spaces where you could like throw a 4th of July kind of bash or things like that, which would be really fun. But I was wondering, when this is just my brain noodling things, like the prize thing, is it a choice, or is it all? It seems interesting that maybe somebody might want a rent concession, somebody else might just want cash, somebody might want a gift card. Like they're like, oh no, I want something more fun than just like saving money on rent. You know what I'm saying? It's like it could be seen as less festive. I don't know. And as a practical person, I'd be like, sweet, less rent.
I think it depends on the size of the property. You don't want to get too into the weeds and provide, because then at some point you're distracting your property manager from their primary goal of leasing the units, keeping the tenants happy. So, we'll just advertise it when we put it out. But we have a little flyer that we're making up. Hey, holiday decoration contest. The prizes are first place, second, third, and it just writes out the prize. I mean, theoretically, yes, we could, but then we could do like, hey, it's cash or a gift card or whatever, just for simplicity, and because you're never going to please everybody, and if you tried to figure out what what people wanted, it would be
Well, Visa gift cards are universal, but yeah, absolutely.
But it's also something that
it was cash, and you handed them cash, and they just handed it back to you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of that's the other thing, is that it's something we can control internally, to where we wouldn't have to track down a tenant if they were traveling or whatever. We would, it just hey, in our system we set this up. You got it. It's over. It's easy to accomplish, I'd say.
So how do I'm assuming the property managers, for the most part, there's nobody who's like, I don't want to judge holiday decorating.
No, they love it. Those people aren't good property managers. Like I said,
that's the person who just got let go.
Clint Eastwood doesn't get hired as a property manager.
Yeah.
So, So I think they love it. They love to see how the tenants get excited about it and go start on pulling out the stops and all their decorations and stuff. So it's good for all involved.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it would be impossible for it to be bad. It could be a 0, I guess, at some place where people just don't participate, but it's not going to be a negative.
Yeah, true, exactly.
I did have one thing before. I think we should probably make that transition to how this all plays out on the financial side, but. And this is actually slightly, I guess, financial as well. As we're talking about security, and it seems to me, and I guess maybe I'm going to ask you this because I just realized this is just in my mind that, well, of course, first of all, we're vetting our properties that we're going to buy, and of course, we're not going to be somewhere that's crime ridden, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we're like putting all that aside, and then creating a safe environment where everything just looks good, is up to speed. Everybody's has someone to go to, all that stuff. It seems that the security angle is way more of an absence, right? If you have to have actual security, like a security person, like driving around at night, that actually makes it seem less secure than if like everyone's just confident that it is safe. Yeah,
good point. Yeah, it's a feeling. Safety is a feeling. Very rarely is it a physical. I mean, if you see somebody walking around doing crime, call the police, right?
Doing crime.
Well, I didn't want to get into specifics, but if you see that, call the police. Any tenant, but it's the feeling of safety comes from not when they see crime occurring. It's when they're worried it might occur and they don't know if it is or if it isn't. That's right. That's when you are worried about security. And honestly, something that we do and at all our properties and most property managers do is that you offer a discount for law enforcement type officers. In that way, I mean, literally there may be at any given time of day or night a police vehicle or some sort of law enforcement vehicle parked on your property, and that just gives people, it adds to everybody's sense of that's better than the guy patrolling around looking around like he's trying to catch somebody. Yeah, this guy lives here, and the presence of that car that people can see as they drive by gives you that sense that, look, this is a cop wouldn't be living in a bombed out neighborhood or a dangerous neighborhood.
Well, they wouldn't be living there as a cop. They would
exactly. Exactly. They wouldn't be driving that vehicle if they were trying to do stuff here. And it's just like, hey, so it's safe, and it adds to the safety. This person is here, 1 or 2, maybe even depending on the size of the property. That's something that we like to encourage. Give a couple $100, $200 off rent each month for that, and that's a benefit to the property, to all this stuff we're talking about is the sense of security, the feeling of safety on the property. That's a great way to attack that.
All right, well, let's just kind of like show how, I guess, what our goal again, as we talked, was this, maybe point out how the feel goods, the vibes, the good vibes actually do translate into like real dollars in a lot of ways. I mean, we're focused in part on also, they live it, they like the way they live, they're having a great time, etc. But it actually does happily also
byproduct of tenants liking where they live, having pride in where they live, feeling safe, all these things that we've discussed.
Yeah.
The byproduct is that it impacts the top line, bottom line, everything on an apartment complex. So when people like where they live and they feel like they belong to a little community and that, they have pride in where they live and all that, they are more likely to stay there and continue to rent, less likely to move out and try to find a different place. There's obviously always life events. Hey, we hear quite a bit tenants move out to buy a house, which I love because that's part of life, is moving on from being a renter to being a homeowner, and I love that for them. And there's nothing I want to do to try to entice them to stay. I go on, continue advancing in life.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, when we're happy to keep tenants re-signing the lease every year, because as we know as apartment owners that turnover is expensive. There's always an amount of time that your unit is going to be vacant, meaning you're not collecting rent on during that time. Whether you could have the most efficient processes. I mean, we've turned units in like less than a week before, but you are still going to have
those
days without rent. You're losing income one way or another when you have turnover. Whether it's a few days, a few weeks, a month, depending on renovations or anything that you might need to do while it's vacant. Then you have the cost of turnover. So you have to clean the unit. You may have to replace floors. You may have to paint, all these things. And those are direct costs that you don't have to pay when there's a tenant in the unit, right? That is not something that you are paying while they're in there.
To be clear, we're talking normal wear and tear stuff that you're not taking it from security deposit, right? This isn't they did something wrong. It's just they moved out. Someone else is moving in.
Someone lives in a place for 3 years. We're going to have to paint that unit when they turn. It doesn't matter how. I mean, I have kids, so it takes way less than 3 years to ruin some walls. But I'm just saying it doesn't have to be any fault of their own or any any bad actions. It's just, hey, this is what you do as a landlord. You have to make it look fresh for the next person. So you may be able to touch up paint if they only were there a little while. You may not have to replace carpet if they're only there for a little while. But more than likely, if it's longer than a year, 2 years, you're going to have to do some serious turnover costs, and that could be hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars just to turn a unit. Not even counting any renovations that you might be doing at turnover as well. So, getting people to stay for longer periods of time and delaying that inevitable painting, flooring, all these different costs, those are expenses that don't exist if you don't have if you have no turnover, right? So you're subtracting from the top line if because you're going to have some vacancy. They can't move out on one day and move in the next day. I've never heard of that happening. So you're going to have some vacancy, which
not with best practices, I would imagine.
No, that's a real problem. So you're going to have something coming off the top line. You're going to have lower income than if you had kept it occupied, if the person had re-signed the lease. And then you're also going to have added expenses to the bottom line. So you're crunching NOI from both angles when you have turnover. So obviously, the less turnover you have, you're expanding both the top line and the bottom line. In terms of financially, so that's our incentive to make the tenants as happy as we possibly can. Is that NOI is net operating income is overall income minus overall expenses. So if we cut expenses and raise income, we're raising NOI, which is how our property is valued. So not only are we raising the cash flow over time, but we're raising the value of the property by keeping turnover as low as we possibly can.
And then I think it comes back around on itself again in that you can entice people to stay because it's a good place. They stay for longer. They become more invested in the place because they start feeling some ownership of their own if they stay long enough. I mean, I know. Yeah, I think that happens in any kind of. It doesn't matter if it's a neighborhood of single-owned houses or whatever it is. If you've been there a long time, there's a really good chance that you're going to feel like, it's going to be more than just I like my spot. It's going to be I'm looking out, see what's.
You're more vested in the whole thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. You're not going to be making ruin or whatever that phrase was you used. I forgot what it is. I wanted to
ruin up.
Ruin up. There it is. You're not going to be ruining up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened there. That was a
I actually kind of like it, honestly. You really ruined up this. Anyways, yeah. So I think, I mean, if you look at it as just a recap, I think here, and maybe you can respond to this in a way that'll be great for a clip for YouTube. No, I mean, if you look at it, the metrics, right, that we would use to either assess the health of a place, whether we're underwriting it or it's ours, and how that would translate to investors, whether again we're pitching it or it's sending out quarterly reports. I mean, those metrics are directly related to what we've been talking about, right? Like operating expenses, because the one thing you didn't mention that it kind of gets thrown in there is, well, that's more time that the property manager has to spend flipping the unit, getting people in, putting up new pictures, getting a lease, filing that stuff, all of the things. There's all the paperwork, all those things go into it. Maybe there's a little bit extra marketing costs, but there's just still, if nothing else, if it's just cost for flipping the place, paint, etc., there's still dollars spent in time, right? Of the time of the people who have to make that happen. So all that goes into operating expense. Actually, answer me this: where does that money for flipping fall? Like, what is that considered?
turnover cost.
Turnover. Okay.
It could be. I mean, sometimes it's broken down into cleaning, painting, depending on what it is. But it's considered a turnover cost. So, depending on how the accounting system breaks it out, but we know what is from whenever we see those items. Cleaning is only from unit turns.
Right, and so those costs go up. Occupancy goes down. And then those are the exact things you're looking at to see the strength of an investment, or that directly translate to an investment strength.
Yeah.
Antimetabolite.
But yeah, I mean, and distributions and everything, because the more cash flow we have, the lower the expenses, the higher the income, the more cash we have on hand to distribute out to investors. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, and the one caveat, of course, I guess we should mention here, of course, there are times when it's fortuitous that someone moves out because we may be renovating the entire unit. But outside of that, value add boost,
right? And talking all things being equal in a general operational environment, exactly.
So because you don't honestly, we need to wrap up here, but just curiosity, I guess it has to be easier for someone to be moving out and you renovate and then release at the new level than to move people around.
It's not necessarily, because if let's say we're renovating a bunch of units, or we're trying to get them done as quickly as possible, we'll finish a unit, and then versus having to market that unit, like you talked about, all those extra costs of marketing the unit, we say, hey, we incentivize current tenants to move over. We don't lose that tenant. We keep them who is invested in the property. They love their new unit. And then we don't have to worry, like it's convenient for us, but just move them over to the newly renovated unit, and we start renovating their unit, and then we just keep the chain going until we, so we don't have to lose tenants, and we can get it done quicker between leases, because we'll allow people to break their lease if they move across the property to another unit that we've just finished, because now we don't have that unit sitting vacant. We can immediately attack theirs. So there's a lot of strategies that go into renovations and keeping tenants while you do renovations. Sometimes you can do it where they're in the unit. You don't have to wait till it's vacant. Other times you need, if you're doing flooring, whatever it might be, you might need to wait till it's vacant. But there's strategies that you can do to keep those tenants too, because obviously what we've been talking about all day is that having tenants who are invested in staying in the place and feel safe, feel comfortable, and feel a sense of community, you want those tenants to stay, because you don't, in the long run, the longer they stay, the less likely they are to leave.
Right. And I mean, that just kind of brings it full circle, because at the very beginning, we show up, say, hey, we're the new owners. Here's the things we're going to be doing. Here's how we're going to be improving. And one of those things might be, your apartment's going to get better. All you're going to have to do is move across the street. And then all of a sudden, everything's on the looking up, as it were. So for us and for them. All right. Well, that seems like a good place to tie a bow on this and get out of here. As always, we appreciate you guys hanging around and listening to us. And of course, as always, if you got any questions or comments or thoughts, or just want to reach out and get in touch with us about what's going on with us, please reach out through the comments on this Substack. You can DM Matthias or myself on LinkedIn. We're easy to find. You can comment on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, all the places. Email, go to capitalvelocityinvestments.com. You can talk to the bot and it'll send it to us, all the ways. We really would love to hear from you guys. As always, really appreciate you hanging out with us, and we hope you'll come back next week for another edition of the Get Invested podcast.
See ya.